Normally I've done my videos in German, since I live in Germany. This one's going to be in English, however, to reach a wider number of people. And if anybody out there wants to contact me for production services or mixing, guitar playing, or what have you, please let me know. Also, if you're interested in this rock opera, I'm all sold out of CDs, but I'd be happy to sell you a downloadable copy. Alright, before we get into it, I have to say this was one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever done as a musician and composer. And it had resonance with the target audience, which was a local audience. And I even did a video presentation of one of the songs at City Hall, which was packed. And the opera was performed twice live in its entirety on stage. So let's get into it. How to write a rock opera, or at least how I did it. For an opera, you need what's called a libretto. That's the story. That story usually includes multiple characters and emotional highs and lows, so you can take the listener on an extended journey. It's like telling a story. This opera came out to be about 27 minutes of non-stop music. It took me about 5 weeks to write and record. The name of the work is Outback's Live Music Club. It's named after a beloved music club that closed down. The downfall of the club was ripe with material to write about. As I said, I live in Germany, therefore the opera is in German. And it's directed towards people who know the real life story. There were lots of things that happened over time regarding the downfall of that club that were either ridiculous, funny, or sad, so I started keeping notes on that. At one point I grabbed my notes and I started fleshing them out into song-like ideas. And after a while I noticed I had enough to where if I finished each piece it would probably result in an album of songs. But I also noticed that not every little song idea required a full 3.5 minutes to develop. So I decided to do it as an opera so I could move faster through the story and keep the listener interested. The lyrics were the hardest part, actually for a few reasons. Number one, it's in German, and German is not my first language, it's my third, so my grammar leaves a little bit to be desired. And the other thing is that it's a true story. So people around here, they knew the details of how the whole thing developed. And also a nod to my wife who corrected my German grammar when I was finished with the text. The opera consists of one full-length song at the beginning and one full-length song at the end. And in the middle there's 21 little vignettes, little songlets. I have to say I got really lucky on the composition side of things because outside of those two full-length songs, all the pieces in the middle, that music came pretty quickly, so there's little to no editing on the composition side of it. Which is lucky for me because I only had 5 weeks to do it and a hard deadline. So I had to write it, edit it, arrange it, record it, and mix it and have it ready on CD by a certain date, which I achieved. So that was a big personal triumph for me. And I mean, let's be honest, you know, you're not going to get rich making an opera about such an esoteric subject. So it's not like I was expecting to sell millions of these things. You know, it was directed mostly to a local crowd, but you know, I achieved exactly what I set out to do, and it was one of the best things I've done as a composer in my whole life. Was I influenced by any existing rock opera? Yes, I would say so. Let's talk about a few of them. The first one, most people don't know this, but the first rock opera is S.F. Sorrow by the Pretty Things from 1968. If you ask people what is the most famous rock opera, actually most people can probably only name one, and that's going to be Tommy by The Who, which came out in 1969, very influential. I was most influenced by the structure of the other sort of rock opera or mini rock opera that The Who did called A Quick One, because it involves little songlets. Sometimes a little 30-second piece will do the job. The instrumentation is basically a rock band format. Drums, bass, guitar, vocals. I did all the vocals and I played all the instruments, and what I don't physically play, I programmed. So, let's go to my workstation and we can see how some of this stuff sounds. I'll even solo some of the instruments for you. Let's check it out. Alright, here we are at my workstation. This is Logic, and let's roll it and see what it sounds like.
Outback's Live Music Club. Outback's Live Music
Alright, so let's break it down. Let's see. You can hear the rock band instruments. This is pretty straight. We got our drums. Bit of claps in there. Let's see. There's one bass track. There's another one. Little distortion for you. Some distorted organ. Yeah. And that's actually the main guitar. There's 2 tracks of the same performance. And I see that that one's not even being used. The volume's all the way down. So it's only that one. Okay, let's take a look at the vocals. The lead vocal you can hear clearly enough, right?
Outbacks, Live Music Club.
Okay, and the harmonies, let's see what they're doing.
Backs. Outbacks. Outbacks.
You could tell that I don't use any auto-tune or anything like that. It's not perfectly sung, but it's close enough for rock and roll. So that's a basic rock band setting, and as the thing goes on, it changes completely. The next little section, I'll play you the transition.
Wolle wollte aufhören. Überlegte, den Laden zu verkaufen. Wolle möchte.
Okay, so you can see that it's a totally different setting now. It's just one guitar. It's not a rock band anymore. It's an echoey kind of guitar. We can solo that. Check that out real quick. Stratocaster, right? And there's also a bunch of little sounds. Maybe you can hear them, maybe you can't, but there's this one in there. It's an electric piano, a Rhodes. Okay, and there's also, let's see what we have here. Glockenspiel. Let's hear that. I stole that little idea from Little Wing by Hendrix. We have some cellos. So, okay, that's it on that one. So you see, that one's quite simple. Let's go on to this one. Okay, that's basically a rock band type of thing. Here's a little idea inspired by Frank Zappa, this little transition coming up.
Haupterfahrung als Geschäftsmann.
Here it comes.
Hab ich die Geduld und Ausdauer, die tägliche Arbeit zu machen, die solch ein Laden wirklich braucht? Nein! Na dann, ich kauf mir das Outbacks. Ich muss nur Wolle überzeugen.
Thank you, Frank. All right, check out this little trick here. It's lo-fi vocals for the backing vocals. They're coming up.
Hey Wolle, ich habe ein Büro in Köln.
You see these little vocals right there? Check them out. Yeah, it's just they're EQ'd really semi-extreme. You see? You can see all the tempo changes this thing has. Check it out. Each one of these things over here are tempo changes throughout the whole thing. And there are some time signatures too. Most of it's in 4/4. Here's an instance of a time signature change. You see that 3/4 up there, and then it goes to 4/4. Check it out. You see that? And there was a little horn creeping in there, you see? You know, horns just sound flatulent and add to the humor of the thing, and that part definitely needed something like that. Mellow little electric piano for you right there. I actually got the owner of that club, the previous owner, who ran it quite well, to come over. I told him I was writing a rock opera about this subject, and I got him to come over and say a line into the microphone here.
Das Outbacks.
Alles klar, großer Geschäftsmann. Wir machen den Vertrag.
Unterschrift, Handschlag, wer kauft, gekauft, Übergabe.
Alright, that one features a little bass playing there. Let's solo that bass. 2 channels of the same performance. The next little vignette has some humor to it. To me, this sounds like music that you might hear in a play or something like this. I'll let you hear a little piece of it.
Für eine Zeit läuft alles sehr gut, sehr gut, sehr gut. Es sieht aus, als ob das Geschäft floriert, floriert. Saalkonzerte, Kneipenkonzerte, Sonntag früh shoppen.
Yeah, that bass was sort of in the style of John Entwistle. And the next time that little bass thing comes in, I decided to put a horn with it. Check it out. Right? And then the next little piece doesn't have any lyrics to it, but I just held out the very last note of that song, and it sort of became its own little piece.
Floriert, 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 floriert.
That means warning in German. That's why the music got scary. And let's see what comes up here.
Fritz sagte, vergiss nicht deiner Rechnungen zu bezahlen.
Yeah, there's a few things going on. Let's see, we've got strings. You can hear those pretty easily. And we've got timpani. Check this one out. I love me a good timpani. Glockenspiel comes back. Right, let's check out this little transition here.
Rechnungen, Bierlieferant, Telefon.
Okay, maybe you can guess what that's sort of based on. That's inspired by Deep Purple. You know, kind of like The guitar and the distorted organ, kind of like the thing you hear in like Smoke on the Water type of thing. Typical John Lord on the keyboards. Yeah, playing fourths on the organ into a Marshall. What comes up next? Let's see what happens over here.
Mahnung, vergiss nicht deine Rechnungen. Zweite Mahnung.
Yeah, that same little piece comes back, this time a little bit more intense. And after that we get to, comes into this part.
Rechnungen, dritte Mahnung. Steuerberater. Au. Steuerberater. Au. Au. Au.
Okay, Steuerberater in German is the tax accountant. And as you can tell from the music, that was supposed to be a scary moment. I went for sort of a gallop here, you know, like a cowboy movie. It even sounds like the horse just running. You know, just galloping on the toms, basically. And let's check out the next transition into the next little vignette.
Wohle arrangiert dein Gespräch mit dem Steuerberater. Verpasst. Verpasst. Oh, wohle arrangiert.
Right, this is basically just a, you know, kind of a rock band doing a heavy ballad sort of thing. We've got our organ in there. Bass.
Dein Gespräch mit dem Steuerberater. Verpasst. Verpasst. Oh, wohle arrangiert ein zweites.
Pretty basic. There you can hear the echo, by the way. And there's not too many guitar solos on this thing, but here's one.
Geschäftsmann hat nichts mehr im Griff. Oh, oh, zweites Open Air -5 Tage.
Yeah, here's another piece that's kind of minimal. You don't need a full band for that. So it's basically just led by the guitar with some echo on it. Let's check that out soloed.
Oh, oh.
There's very little on this.
Bands, viel,
There's a little bit of piano in there, tiny bit.
wie soll ich das hinkriegen?
Some harmonies.
Wie soll ich das
Let's see what comes after that.
Ich das hinkriegen? Ich weiß, ich war in die Schweiz. Ich hau ab. Ich hau ab.
Okay, this one is supposed to sound kind of silly, you know, a bit ridiculous. It's supposed to be a stereotype of the kind of folk music that they have in Switzerland, you know, kind of like a polka sounding thing that they have in all German-speaking countries. So I exaggerated that as much as I could.
Schweiz. Ich hau.
I mean, you know, you can't go wrong with those flatulent horns. There's the accordion. All right, you get it. So let's see what comes next.
Übrigens, ich schmeiß Fritz raus.
Pretty basic rock song. We've heard that kind of texture already. You know, I did use occasionally on this thing sort of a Greek chorus. A Greek chorus is something that would make commentary to the viewer or listener as to what's going on. In other words, you wouldn't have one of the main characters speaking. You would have this little group called the Greek chorus directing the listener as to what they're supposed to feel or some other kind of information. And in German, what it's saying is Stammgäste rufen Boo, which means the regulars, you know, the regular attendees of that club. They're crying foul, you know, they're crying boo, boo. You know, they don't like what's going on.
Und die Stammgäste rufen Boo, Boo, Boo. Stammgäste rufen Boo, Boo, Boo.
Goes right into the next tempo.
Kritik, nein danke. Kritik, Kritik. Kommentare auf Facebook, Kommentare auf der Homepage. Gelöscht, gelöscht.
Yeah, this is very 80s. You know, it's got this sort of bip, 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 bip kind of pattern on the keyboards. Let's solo that. I mean, quite typical. I even stole a sound from Gary Newman here. Check it out. Come on, what 80s fan doesn't love that? Yeah, that whole tune is pretty much in that style. A lot of different styles going on here. Let's see what comes up next.
Kritik, Kritik, nein danke. Was soll ich machen, um mein Image zu verbessern? Vielleicht Plakate machen. Kennen Sie mich? Kennen Sie mich? Kennst du mich? Oder nur die lächerlichen Plakate?
Yeah, this was a particularly silly event that happened in the chronology of the story. In real life, actually. So that's why I made this sound kind of silly with the horns, and I kind of exaggerated the kind of singing like this, you know. Check out the horns real quick. Very beautiful, right? Okay, let's move on.
Plakate.
That's led by the guitar.
Winter, Öl nicht bezahlt. Zieh deine Winterjacke an zum Konzert.
Alright, let's roll it close to the end of that little section. Did you hear that? I programmed a little bit of ghost noting on the snare there, on the drums. It's a good drummer. All right, let's see. Coming up here, we've got another transition.
Zu viele Schulden. Kaffeeautomat ist weg, Transporter weg, zweiten Transporter weg, wir nicht mehr geliefert. Oh,
Okay, that one is definitely kind of like a metal type of situation, led by the guitar there. Right? And it's pretty straightforward. One little decision was I decided to have the band sort of skip the one at this one little place. Check it out. Like the band sort of hits after the one right here. 2, 3, 4. It goes da-bum, bum, ga-dun, dun. Right, so that goes on. Right, so yeah, it's a total change right there. Basically, it's still kind of a rock band type of setup, but it's definitely ballad-esque, kind of electric piano led. That's the little in-between transition, and then... I wrote that on guitar. I thought it would sound cooler on electric piano, but it's very typical of a guitar arpeggio. Somewhere in here there's a little bass solo. I think it's right there.
Aufgebaut haben wir in kurzen Zeit zerstört. Sehr kurzen Zeit zerstört.
Right, check it out, little bass solo in solo mode. Right. Okay, moving on. We're almost done here.
Möglichkeiten schwinden, unsere Outbacks wieder aufleben zu sehen.
Okay, and this is the last song. This is a full-length song. It's an acoustic ballad. It's in the key of E minor, the saddest of all keys, which has been scientifically proven, by the way.
Wir schauen mit Liebe zurück auf die schönen Zeiten, die wir hatten.
It's a ballad that sort of sums it all up and talks about how the regulars really missed their old meeting place and how they made bonds there. And it also thanks the previous owner and his right-hand man for doing such a good job at running the place for years. And somewhere in here, I actually did a harp solo. I mean, not a harp, but a blues harp. And I don't really play harmonica, but, you know, fake it till you make it. Let's see, let's check it out.
Outbacks wär wieder da.
all right. It's not exactly Stevie Wonder, but you know, it gets the job done.
Wer wieder da, wer wieder da, wer wieder da, Outbacks, wer wieder da, wer wieder da, Outbacks, wer wieder da, wer wieder da. Outbacks, wer wieder da. Wieder da, Outbacks, wer wieder da, wieder da, Outbacks, wer wieder da, wieder da.
Yeah, I wanted this to be sort of like a little coda that starts, you know, on a major and takes it out, and it sort of builds up a little bit. You heard that part, and then it comes in with a little Glockenspiel again, and everything's building up a little bit. The organ came in, tambourine came in, live tambourine there. Little melody on the organ, right? A little bonus melody in the background. Big ending here, let's see.
Outbacks, wer wieder da.
Bam. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. Okay, that's, you know, that's the whole thing. Let's see how long it is. View secondary ruler. It is 27 minutes 20 seconds. Non-stop music. That was played live 2 times. That was great doing that. I have to say it was quite a feat to do all that, but I'm glad I did it. One last note on this. As far as mixing this, I kept everybody, each instrument on the same track all the way through all songs, and therefore I just automated the volume moves and certain plugins. You know, EQs and things. Not too many plugins, mostly just distortion stuff on the organ and on the guitar. But there you can see all the volume moves up there. These are the vocals up there. Guitar's got a few volume moves. They all have some volume moves. But that definitely helped out to do this all in one giant session rather than to do each little piece in its own session and then have to put them together somehow. I think the mixing would have been much harder that way. So, that's the whole enchilada, all 27 minutes of it. So there it is. That's my story on writing a rock opera. Hope you liked it. See you next time.